Good morning, lovely, wonderful people. Welcome to Courageous Conversations. I welcome you here. I'm just going to adjust my camera a tiny little bit. There we go. A little better. See, Trumpet Girl, she's had her cycle. I had a beautiful amaryllis there. But you know what? It's okay because the cycle of life and death, it is alive and well in this beautiful plant. And I feel like there is a beautiful plant that may come again next year. So the cycle of life. And thank you everyone for joining me. Mandy, Omid, thank you. I'm going to do a little bit of sharing. Because sharing is caring, and these topics I believe are really, really important. But what I wanted to say to you is just a couple of things. So firstly, share with anyone you feel that this is important for them to learn or talk about or at least explore. Hi, Raisa. Nice to see you. How's it going, Raisa? The truth of the matter is that vulnerability is such an incredibly important topic because, you know, people talk about it in theory, blah, 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 about vulnerability. But the truth of the matter is that it's very, very scary for a lot of people, including myself, to tap into the vulnerable self. The vulnerable self is that soft underbelly. And excuse me while I just do a tiny bit of sharing. And also, I just want to invite you to like my page, Courageous Conversations, when you get a chance, if that resonates with you. And also, if it resonates with you, join my group. It is a very, very, it's a closed group. It's a supportive group. And it's all about supporting people in their courageous choices and in their courageous acts and their courageous decisions. And I hear you can't stay, Race, you can catch the replay, but it is a beautiful thing to see you here, my dear. And also, I will say to everyone that is joining us that you can catch all of my replays on my page, Courageous Conversations. You can also go to my YouTube site, which is called Courageous Conversations as well, and that is where you can access a ton of content, my content there. And of course, for exclusive sort of one-on-ones and group support, join me at Courageous Conversations, my group. That's a beautiful thing to do. Just doing a little bit more sharing so that everyone can come on. Hi, Ramesh. Nice to see you. I'm welcoming everyone who's coming on to talk about vulnerability, that vulnerable part of us that is so tough to tap into, but yet it is the magic bullet on so many levels. The magic bullet. Okay, so let's just talk. I did a little bit of sharing. The magic bullet that is vulnerability. It's very counterintuitive because a lot of us, and many people I work with and a lot of people that I communicate with have come from environments or backgrounds in which, you know, the last thing on your mind is wanting to be sort of soft and vulnerable in the face of attack or in the face of someone denigrating you or someone criticizing, judging, hurting, and so, or someone who might have spoken in a way that was hurtful, whatever. We want to lash out. We want to, and I certainly, grapple with that. It's just so much more delicious to just go, pummel someone back. And sometimes even the Dalai Lama talks about stupid compassion. The Buddhists talk about compassion, but no one is saying stupid compassion. No one is saying be someone who can be walked all over. I am certainly not saying that. What I am saying is tapping into a part of you that is softer and more vulnerable, because most hurt is really a cover all for, most anger, I should say, is a cover for hurt. And most people will respond really well, if they're not sociopathic, to you exposing some of that vulnerability to them. Similarly, when you're experiencing the desire to draw a boundary or say, hi Yatushka, nice to see you, to say no, people are going to be able to tap into a much more communicative stance when they tap into a softer aspect of their voice. And I have to work with that big time, because I default into a more clear, more right, this is where I'm at and this is what it is. And it's not, it's an off-put for many people. So my lessons are definitely to tap into that vulnerable aspect of myself. I got a cough. Excuse me. That vulnerable aspect of myself in which there is an opening for receptivity on the other person's part. That's what I'm saying. It's creating a bridge. Vulnerability creates a bridge so that you can actually tap in to the aspect of the friendship or the relationship in which communication is effective, is productive, and is healing. The anger will always create an opportunity for cutting, for destroying, essentially. Anger is only helpful to get you out of, extremely abusive situations. Even when we're drawing boundaries, even when we're hurt, even when we're deeply offended, I believe there's always an opportunity to tap into in my opinion, the balanced adult. And that balanced adult, hi Sarah, it's so good to see you. The balanced adult is who we want to tap into in most relationship experiences. Not the hurt child, not the critical parent. These are the ones that are going to tap into the aggressiveness and into, not have the vulnerability. Well, the hurt child might be, but it will come from more of a victim place. Poor me, why me, poor me, why me? But the balanced adult will tap into that vulnerability that would say, this didn't work for me. This is not okay. It doesn't work for me. And I would, a much more vulnerable way of expressing a boundary or a no or a pushing back. Because what we're trying to do is create community, create connection, create alchemy versus division, amputation, and cutting off. To me, that's what's healing the planet. To me, that's what is healing the planet. And also, a really big one to tap into the vulnerable self is to tap in to compassion of self. Usually people who are giving too much, allowing too much, being too nice, all these things, you know what's happening? They are developing the seeds of resentment. Hey, Kevin. Basically resentment is coming from that over niceness. And, don't take my word for it. Tap into the depth of yourself and ask yourself if you're always saying yes, if you're always being nice, if you're all, or if you're always being, all of these things, too much niceness, too much, oh yes, not being in touch with your true self will create resentment, will create a sense of poor me, victimhood. No self-compassion is there because you're basically saying, I don't have a right to say no. And it's the seeds of resentment into anger. Vulnerable truth, vulnerable aspects of yourself, vulnerable moments within yourself, and also vulnerable conversations within yourself. Welcome, Helen. Are going to bring you the richness of being able to be in connection with people, but at the same time being in a place where you're drawing clear boundaries from a gentle place. I mean, I had recently a situation in which I really didn't care for how I was being treated. I actually just thought, I need to blast this person into Kingdom Come. And it was tempting and it was delicious. And I sat with that and I worked on that within myself. I didn't just have that raw experience be lashed out. I don't recommend when we're in the balanced adult, nothing is impulsive. Nothing is delivered in a raw way, especially if your intention is to create community, is to create connection, and to create healing. You gotta troubleshoot that shit within yourself. Work that shit out. Work it out. So that when you deliver the information, it's not raw, it's not impulsive, it's not from the hurt child, it's not from the critical parent, judgmental. It's from the vulnerable self, it's from the compassionate self, but compassion first for self. Compassion for self. start with compassion for self, and you're more likely to have an ability to tap into the humanity of the other. And when you can tap into the humanity of the other, you can tap into the compassion for the other. Because suddenly you're understanding, we're one. We're all in this together. We are all in this together. So I really want to encourage people to be incredibly, hi Sheila, nice to see you, incredibly self-aware, troubleshoot your emotions. Don't just let yourself in a raw way express. Go in and do some work of what I call, self-parenting, reparenting. So many of us were not treated with compassion. We're not ever given the opportunity to be in our vulnerable self, because it just wasn't in the family culture. It wasn't done. And it was incredibly dangerous territory, and when that's the case of the childhood, vulnerability is sort of put on the back burner. And that is sad, and really, really sad. And Manon says, hi Manon, nice to have you on. Yes, compassion and truth in yourself. I agree. Thank you. So, when I say tap into your vulnerable truth, I mean, a case study I will share with you very briefly was a couple that was separating, and they came in for some couples therapy, and they were at the end. They came in a little late. They could have come in earlier, and I would have taught them how to fight. But they were on the way out. But they had children, and or have children, and that couple was just destructive, very destructive to one another. Jabs, sarcasm, total, destructive communication, disdain. I posted that John Gottman's 4 Horsemen of Destruction, disdain, and let me see what I got here. I can't remember the 4, but disdain is really big. Resentment is another one. Criticism and stonewalling. Got them all. All right. And so, this was a couple doing that sort of thing. And I said to them, if you're interested in destroying your family culture so that your kids will never be able to have healthy relationships with themselves or others, continue in this way. I had to guilt them a little bit, but nothing was stopping them. Nothing was stopping them. So I had to sort of say, listen, because what gets me up in the morning, everybody, is knowing that the work I do stops multi-generational dysfunction. And I needed them to really, really get into the understanding of what they were doing was impacting the next generation, and then the next generation after that. Because divorce is is bloody hard on everybody. Hey Nadine, nice to see you. So when I talked to them about how much they needed to get motivated to tap into the alchemy of vulnerability, hi Mary, of vulnerability, they were like, I don't think so. But they got it that for the kids, at least they would do it. So we started that journey, and I taught them about speaking in vulnerability doesn't mean weakness. And this is what I'm here to tell you. Speaking in a vulnerable way doesn't mean weakness, especially if the rules of engagement are clear. That being soft and kind and real and truthful and vulnerable and exposing your vulnerability is saying to the other person, I am not perfect. You are not perfect. Hi, Sharita. Thanks, Yutishka. I appreciate it. I am not perfect. You are not perfect. But I realize that it's really hard for you to be soft and vulnerable with me, to trust me. And so I am taking that trust seriously, and I am going to give you the space to be vulnerable. That's what two people are saying when they're vulnerable with one another, and when they set up the rules of engagement to do that. The rules of engagement of being vulnerable with one another means I am trusting you to not shit all over me when I am vulnerable with you. So that's why setting up the rules of engagement is really important, because to be vulnerable in a toxic family environment is to open yourself up to mocking and open season and destruction and criticism and judgment and all those things. So, that's not what I'm saying you want to open yourself up to, but you want to, in your relationships, operate from a place where we can be vulnerable with one another through setting up rules of engagement. And furthermore, when we set up, even just being vulnerable with, strangers, Bell Telephone, Rogers, you got to contain yourself, but you got to go listen. I know you got to come from that human place. And guess what? Every time I come from the human place versus the asshole place, I get more. We get more. Okay. That's something you want to remember. If you come from your mean self, I promise you they're going to be like, F you, see you later. Or if you come from anything, you just say, listen, you come from that human, vulnerable place. Most people, if they're not sociopaths, want to be helpful. They want to help. I was dealing with Audible the other day, and I was kind of not happy with some of the charges. Anyways, the conversation was so good that 3 of the operators that were this customer service people ordered my book, my new audiobook. It was so cool. I was just like, this was just like, okay, this is like a confirmation that vulnerability, exposing your truth, being human, people relate. People want to deal with you. People want to, even this couple that was getting ready to F up their kids, they were like, okay, this is easier. This is nicer. This is fun to be around. And I really appreciate all the comments that are coming in. And I saw that Tushka, that you were discussing this, and so share it, please share it. So I hope this is helpful. Please listen to the replay. So here's how you can connect with me. The replay will always be on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe at Courageous Conversations, on my page, Courageous Conversations, and join my group. Join my group because it's a closed group, and of course it's up to you, but this is a place where you can, kind of vent out your truth, and other people will comment. I'll be in there commenting as well. And we're in this together, everybody. We're in this together. So, like my page if you can, Courageous Conversations, and my main page, Victoria Lorian Fabish, Courageous Conversations. I know I'm asking a lot of you, but if you get a chance, do that for me. I'll like back. And the other thing I want to ask you is, or to tell you is, I'm away next week in the sun. Please send me some good vibes, because I'm excited to do that. We're off and going to Cayo Santa Maria. I would love to come at you live from the beach, although I have no idea what the internet situation is there. I hear it's not stellar. So if I don't see you live for a week, I'll be here the week of the 18th. On the Wednesday, I think I'm going to be talking about some really cool couples stuff. So I just want to say, oh my God, I just adore everybody who's tuning in. I love you. I love you. You give me a reason for being on so many levels. And I just want you, yes, thank you. Enjoy the beach. I will, Sharita. People got to know me. I'm a bit obsessed with beach time. I'm going to be living one day by a beach. I've done that before and it will happen again, I think. So big hugs, big love. And please keep having courageous conversations with yourself and others, because that is what is going to heal the planet and come from your vulnerable self. And come from that vulnerable place. Even if it's hard, even if the bastards are trying to get you down. No, come from the vulnerable place with a clear boundary, and you will build amazing relationships. Blessings. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.